Who says online users are a bunch of anti-social geeks? Look, here we are in this nice cafe, drink in hand, friendly people, and we're surfing the net. This is the Icon Bite Bar and Grill in San Francisco, where you get the best of both worlds, real people and virtual people. You can come in here and sit down, have a drink, socialize, and check out some cool websites, look at your email, or log on to your favorite news groups. Today we'll show you the growing power of the internet on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by Hewlett-Packard, working with industry leaders to ensure compatibility across the board and across the network. HP PCs, you're looking at partnership in a whole new light.
Additional funding provided by Intel, makers of the Intel Pentium processor. And by Progress Software, client-server development tools for enterprise-class information systems.
Hi, and welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee. With me today is John Markoff, West Coast correspondent for the New York Times. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
All right, we're talking about the internet. As a journalist, I know you use the net a lot. Show me some of your favorite things to do on the net.
Well, electronic mail is what I do most, and it allows me to stay in touch with lots of people in the industry. Here you see a message that I got from Steve Jobs, for example. Electronic mail is great, but when you're in my position, you start getting hundreds or even thousands of messages each day. And I use a program called Eudora, which allows me to filter electronic mail. And that will permit me to take messages, and they'll automatically go, before I even see them, into particular baskets, and I can read them when I have time.
Or you can trash them and filter them out that way.
That's right. Here, for example, anything with the word risks goes into a basket called risks, and I can find it there.
All right, another cool thing on the net is you can explore the world for software, right, and actually download software.
That's right. There is a tremendous amount of really high-quality free software out there, and this is a Macintosh program called Anarchy, or Anarchy. And what I have is a set of bookmarks showing computers all over the world where there are Macintosh archives. And if I want to look for one particular thing, I can do a search. Here we just go to the Archie search. Archie is a software index that allows you to retrieve different kinds of programs. I've done an Archie search for the word mosaic, and you see I've retrieved mosaic files from Virginia, from Germany, from Boston, from Pennsylvania, and all I have to do to reach them is double-click on that icon, and I can
So you can
get that
search
software.
the computers around the world for a piece of software you're
That's
looking
right.
for.
That's
All right,
right.
finally, show us Nuntius.
This is a program written by a fellow in Europe as well, which allows you to read the Usenet, which is a global collection of computer conferences. You can read conferences about any subject under the sun. Here's one on hacking computers, for example, and here's another that shows me the computers that are for sale in my neighborhood in the Bay Area.
All right, lots of power out there, but some people are concerned about the risks also, about people getting into information. How concerned should I be as a user about what I put up on the net?
I think it depends what you do. There is better computer security coming now for economic business transactions, but I'd be careful about putting my password on the net. I'd pick a password that's a safe password, and I wouldn't put my credit card up until there's security software that will protect the credit card.
All right, thanks, John. Okay, today we'll show you both sides of the net, what it's like being a user of its vast information resources and what it's like being an information provider on the internet. Now, one of the most interesting uses of the net is to self-publish your own artistic creations, and that includes not just words and pictures, but also music.
Silicon Valley is filled with bright young engineers who imagine and sometimes realize marvelous new inventions. But the high-tech culture is also about testing the limits and pushing the frontiers of new technologies, and that is what this group of weekend musicians did when they upstaged the Rolling Stones by transmitting their own performance over the internet. In November 1994, Severe Tire Damage, a rock band made up of engineers from Xerox, Apple, and Digital Equipment, performed their repertoire before an internet audience waiting for the Rolling Stones. They did it by multicasting video and audio over the internet M-bone, or multicast backbone.
We were trying to make a point in doing our MCAST. We were trying to show that with sufficient understanding of the technology, that you could do okay. I mean, there are limitations to the technology that you can't overcome. The audio quality is basically, at best, when it's working really well, it's at best equivalent to a telephone. The video quality you're going to get slow frame rate just because the internet can only carry so many bytes per second. But we wanted to show that if you were careful about how you did things, you could get an okay picture within those limitations.
The band's 15 minutes of internet fame was successful, at least as a publicity stunt. Real-time comments came from around the world, and there was even online applause. Although Severe Tire Damage invited themselves to be the Stones' warm-up group, they were off the air before the Stones concert actually began.
I think what we did was a kind of piracy, like in the early days of people flying airplanes where you'll land in someone's farmer's field because you had no place else to go. And it was okay because there weren't very many airplanes around. There aren't very many people now who can use the internet in this way. And so anything goes for now because we're still explorers exploring brand new space, and there's very, very few of us.
The Internet's World Wide Web has created a new venue for music and musicians, both famous and unknown. The IUMA, or Internet Underground Music Archive, contains audio samples from A to Z. The self-publishing nature of the net means that anyone can have a home page, from Severe Tire Damage to the Rolling Stones. The current difficulty of multicasting over the net means that the band has very little competition. But that may change soon, and Severe Tire Damage may discover internet damage to be their biggest obstacle.
There are no locks on the internet right now for MCAST. So we picked no locks, we just came on and did it. If 100 bands tried to do it at the same time, disaster would ensue. It may not be possible to do what we did in another couple of years. It's a brief moment in time here, and then the locks will come down and the charges will come in.
For now, the members of Severe Tire Damage are content to have succeeded in pushing the limits of a new kind of technology. They got no recording contracts as a result of their live performance, and they plan to keep their day jobs.
That's like any technological person. We like to be at the edge and to use the new technology first before anyone else does, and to be at the state of the art. So while doing that, while playing music at the same time, it's heaven.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Giles Bateman.
While the internet itself is essentially free and available everywhere, you do need an access provider to get you onto the net. And with the popularity of the internet, the commercial online services are all rushing to provide that access. Right now, the service with the most local access nodes around the world is CompuServe. And here to show us how to get on the net with CompuServe is Charlotte Beaverson, their Internet Product Manager. Hi, Charlotte.
Hello.
All right, let's back up a little bit and say we're not net-wise at the moment, and we're not experienced with all that stuff like we saw at the beginning of the show. If I'm just a CompuServe user and familiar with that interface, I can now access the internet too, right?
That's correct. On CompuServe, all you need to do is go Internet, and you'll see the menu that we're currently looking at. The Internet can be a pretty intimidating place for the new user, so you will notice that there are forums available. These are places on CompuServe that members can go to ask questions about the Internet.
So before I ever get to the net, I can play around in my good old CompuServe forums and figure out what's the thing to do and learn all the net stuff.
That's
all right, but I can also actually go out to the net, like go visit the Usenet news groups, right?
That's correct. Just now we're going out into Usenet. You will see that there are also some online articles available here teaching members about Usenet netiquette, or rules of the road, so that when they participate in Usenet discussions, they're doing so in a way that's favorable to the internet culture.
Okay, and you've got the facts, the frequently asked questions, and that kind of stuff, so I can sort of warm up onto the net.
That's correct.
All right, so now we're going out actually through CompuServe, but into the full internet Usenet area.
That's correct. We're going to go in and subscribe to some news groups. You're going to see that there are thousands of news groups available, and with thousands of news groups, there's probably something for everyone. Here we have a listing of some of the major topical areas, or I could even search on a keyword. Let's say that I'm interested in news groups dealing with food. Going to get a listing of all the Usenet news groups related to this topic.
So again, I don't need to know the alt.food or whatever I'm looking for. I can say, find me the stuff about food, and there it is.
That's correct. We can see that we have news group discussions on crackers, what cows do with their food, so a wide variety of topics. Let's go ahead and subscribe to what cows do with their food.
Okay. So when you subscribe to the news group, what does that mean?
Subscribe means that it goes on my personal favorite list. So now every time I come into Usenet, I'm going to see a listing of the news groups to which I've subscribed.
Okay.
So we're going to go on out. We'll take a look at the news groups to which I've subscribed. And again, you can see that there is quite a wide variety. Why don't we go on into the Cal news group? And we are...
There are 50 articles that have been posted in that one section.
That's correct. And right now we're actually looking at the threads of discussion that are going on out in the internet about cows and their food.
Okay, so that's playing with Usenet news groups. Now I want you to show me another feature, which is FTP, which we looked at briefly at the top of the show, the file transfer protocol, and how we can actually pull down files from computers anywhere around the world. You can do that through CompuServe also?
That's correct. CompuServe does offer a file transfer interface. One thing that we do is give people a good starting point. For example, if we go out to the file transfer interface, you see that there are some popular selected sites, or people could access any specific site of their choice if they know of a particular site.
So if I'm not sure, I would just click on popular sites and say, hey, here's a couple of places a lot of people spend their time at.
And listed, we're going to see some of the most popular file transfer libraries in the world, offering quite a wide variety of files. In fact, one that I find particularly interesting is the BookStacks Unlimited. We can go here and download entire copies of books.
So I can actually take the full text of a book and download it, assuming it's public domain stuff.
That's correct.
I take it. Okay, last thing I want you to show me is the newest thing you have now is actually a World Wide Web browser and actually play web games going through CompuServe also, right?
That's correct. In fact, right now we're looking at a copy of Air Mosaic, which is the browser that I'm running. And all I've done is dialed into the CompuServe network and brought up the Pizza Hut homepage.
And there's the famous Pizza Hut homepage on the web. Okay, thank you very much. Now, you can pick up any business magazine these days, and you're bound to find an article entitled, How to Make Money on the Internet. Well, lots of businesses, large and small, are trying to figure out how to do just that by selling their wares directly on the net.
The Whole Earth Catalog was an institution to many people who grew up in the 1960s and 70s. Since the first edition 27 years ago, its articles and reviews have provided an ecologically friendly alternative to the noisy hype of commercial catalogs. Traditionally, the paper edition was sold directly and advertised by word of mouth. Today, Whole Earth's publisher has decided to try a web page on the internet as a way to attract more readers and more sales.
Our mission is to get these books into the hands of as many people as possible. This provides an opportunity, we think, in addition to what we've done already, which is bookstores, selling the catalog by direct mail, selling the catalog out of our own offices. We're also looking at a way to get the Whole Earth Catalog and the Whole Earth Review as widely disseminated as possible. And so this is a tool we haven't used before. We want to try to use to see, is this going to be one more way to get these resources so that more people are going to have access to them.
Currently, Whole Earth's internet pages provide only condensed samples of the print catalog's content. Online ordering is limited to the catalog itself and its sister publication, the Whole Earth Review. But to offer those electronic transactions, the catalog's web service provider had to supply a new level of security using data encryption.
What we're seeing now is the integration of this encryption technology with the software that people use to access the networks. We're also seeing integration of the encryption technology with the financial transaction technology. There are a number of competing services available or about to be launched right now that will allow people to buy and sell goods via the internet using their checking account and their credit card numbers. And later this year, they'll be able to have virtual cash, cyber cash, digital cash, if you will, accounts that they'll be able to put money into and then draw from.
The Whole Earth Catalog's new electronic presence may grow to include direct sales of the products and books reviewed within its pages. That will depend on the response to its first commercial link to the internet.
What we've always done is experiment. What we've always believed in doing is trying out tools, seeing what they work, seeing what they're good for, trying to understand what their implications are for people's lives and for the well-being of the planet, and then making judgments about that. And I think we don't have an answer yet to that question of where we will end up in 10 years, how much of what we will be doing will be electronic, how much will be paper, how much will be something else.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Giles Bateman.
Well, the net may be good for business, but it's also a gigantic resource for nonprofit organizations and others working on a variety of global causes. Here to show us how to use the net for community outreach efforts is George Gundry of the Institute for Global Communications. Hi, George.
Hi.
What you guys do then is provide access to the net for nonprofits, for people working on community issues and stuff like that?
Exactly. We provide full internet access for organizations to both get information that they couldn't find at a bookstore or at their library, and also for organizations to publish information and make it widely available.
All right, so let's say I'm involved in a local environmental group in New England, and I want to find out how my legislators voted on recent environmental issues which came up before the Congress. Could I check something like that?
Sure. You would use a World Wide Web resource which is published by a larger organization. And to do that, we would visit our web page by clicking on the web button. We get sent this map here of the United States, and we select the region that we want to get information on, for example, New England, as you mentioned. We click there.
And this is sending us out now to what?
It is basically taking us to another area on the same computer. With each hyperlink, you never know where you're going, if you're going to a different computer or the same computer. It could be the same computer, it could be a computer halfway around the world.
Anyhow, we got the results we wanted, and this is how the senators and the representatives in New England voted on the... Now, there's a kind of ranking there, so this organization is saying they have a high number or a low number in terms of how well they do on environmental issues.
Sure, they've identified certain key votes, and they basically rank them how they voted. And you can see what his ranking here is: 77% 94 and 90% last year. And then you can actually click and see the actual bills. This
is votes on specific legislation that came up and how they voted on that.
Exactly.
And when you click on there, I can actually go find out what the legislation said and
what it said, what the pro-environmental vote was according to this group. And of course, you can save it onto your hard disk or you can print it out.
All right, now suppose I want to find out other organizations like mine elsewhere around the country, around the world for that matter, and I want to find out how they do things and how they organize themselves.
Certainly. There are many organizations that publish on the internet, and there's also many people out on the internet who are maintaining directories of organizations. So you would need to find one of these directories and then simply visit the organization that you're interested in. For example, the Center, the Computer Professionals for Social Responsibility is a very good group, and they have a web page, and you can go visit it, get information, how to join, how to subscribe to their newsletter, etc., etc., etc.
All right, let's say another issue. Say I'm involved in a women's issues group, and we're getting ready to prepare for the International Women's Conference in Beijing, and I just want a kind of old-fashioned network, you know, just talk to other people, maybe get a consensus on an agenda for a session we're going to have.
Sure.
How would I do that?
Okay, if you'll bear with me.
One thing on the net is you spend a lot of time waiting.
Exactly. I
have
have what are called bookmarks, which is basically my favorite places on the network marked up. But often what happens is you begin communicating with another computer, and that computer makes you wait.
Yeah.
You can see here now we're looking at the agenda for the World Conference on Women. We have various documents and news, both from organizations and from the United Nations itself.
So despite a couple of seconds of waiting, which is all it was, I mean, you have access to all kinds of stuff here, and very quickly can do a lot of things if you're working with a nonprofit.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you very much. All right, now one of the neat things about the Internet and the World Wide Web in particular is, in fact, anyone can create their own homepage and become an information provider on the net. The only catch is creating a homepage is not necessarily an easy thing to do. Where do you go for help? Well, we found one place. It's called the Digital Media Center here in San Francisco.
Becoming an information provider on the Internet doesn't require a large budget, nor does it demand powerful hardware. But putting your name or company on the net does mean creating a legible, logical home page with clearly defined links. The San Francisco Digital Media Center started classes this year to help anyone wanting a web page learn how to make one.
For us, you know, as I said, we start with the idea that people need to have their stories told, and that's a very old feeling. We think suddenly there is this apparatus, the World Wide Web, in which you can literally publish a book that has images, that has all the text that you're working on, that has little samples, footnoted clips of audio or video. And for me, this is a tremendous opportunity for people to express themselves and be heard throughout the world. I mean, we're talking about successful homepages can be seen by 20 or 30,000 people a week.
Savvy web page residents try to enhance their pages with user-friendly graphics and icons. But the aesthetics of designing a page are not always evident to beginners, and the complexity of programming links can be overwhelming. The web publishing class combines lessons in HTML programming with basic design concerns. Students provide their own graphic elements, which can include line art, photos, and video.
The biggest question for a lot of artists right now working in all of the computer forums is how to create an aesthetics of interactivity. And so in our classes we're discussing what the aesthetics of interactivity are, meaning how when you're creating something that links to something else that can in a sense go in many directions, and that the author really is the person using the pages, using the interactivity instead of you as the designer. What are the good ways to think about that in creating new work? So I think there is a very complex artistic question to be solved by people working in this field, and all of it is so new.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Giles Bateman.
The beauty of the World Wide Web is its ability to link you with similar topics or ideas elsewhere on the web. The engine that does that is called HTML, an acronym for Hypertext Markup Language. Creating home pages with HTML is not easy unless you have a program like Hot Metal. Here to show us how to use it is Mike Brown of SoftQuad. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
All right, now this is your company's homepage, for example, and it looks like a bunch of text, but the fact is there's a lot of programming code underneath that, right? Because there are hotspots all over this text.
Right, and the graphics that are here, the titles that are larger, all of this is because there are HTML codes that are in the source file telling the browser what to do to display this file. In fact, most browsers have the ability for you to view that source code, and you can see here that there's lots of little codes inside there.
So if I didn't have software like Hot Metal, I'd have to know all these codes and know how to type it and where to type them and so on.
Right.
And I'd make mistakes and it would never work, right?
Probably a little bit. There's about 50 of them in here, and you have to get them in the right order, know which ones to put in there. It can be very difficult to type just by hand.
Okay, so how would I do this using Hot Metal? Show me the difference.
Well, if I go out of this thing and close this thing down and take a look at my document itself, I have here the copy of the document as we were looking at it in the code version, except I've taken those codes and put them with little icons so that I don't have to see all the little code things.
So these are friendly little tags that Hot Metal provides and tells me this is what's really going on next to this text.
Right, and I can turn them off if I need to and suppress them so I don't have to see them, but usually I leave them on so that I know that I'm, for example, at the beginning of a paragraph. And at the beginning of the paragraph, if I were to add a new element, the software knows the HTML rules and gives me about 34 different things I can do here.
But if I were at another spot, for example, in that home page, it would tell me there are things I can't do, right?
For example, down into this unordered list, if my cursor were here, it would tell me that only the list item is valid here. And if I put anything else in here, like a paragraph or a title, then this document would not work at all on the web.
The browser would get confused.
Wouldn't work at all.
All right, let's say I want to start from scratch, Mike. How do I begin to create a home page using Hot Metal?
Well, the software does come with some templates, and I can select a home page template here. And by opening this up, it gives me some suggested titles and some graphics that I can go in then and start changing it myself. So I've got a friend named Bob that I'm creating a home page for, and I can go in and decide that I want to maybe add the graphic, change this My Company to a picture that Bob sent me. So I'm going to edit the URL for this.
And what does URL stand for?
URL is the Uniform Resource Locator. It's the file syntax that points to other graphics or other texts. It's the things that when you click on it, it goes somewhere.
Okay.
So I choose this file. Here's my author file that Bob sent me. And when I bring that in, the system automatically gives me a picture of Bob that he sent to me.
All right, now suppose I wanted to add a hot link here, say My Company. I want to make My Company a link so that when somebody clicks on that, it takes them somewhere else to more information.
And we can do that with Hot Metal also. I can highlight some of the text here, the My Company, do a markup. I want to surround that with some things. It tells me what are the valid things to surround that with. The anchor is the first thing. I'll just go ahead and surround that. And now it takes on a little color to let me know that this is now a hotspot.
It's blue, so we know it's a link, and it'll go somewhere else.
I still have to assign some URL values to that, though.
Tell it what text to link to, where to go.
Exactly, so that I can edit this URL. I can, again, choose a file. I can I'm going to select a class that I'm working on, some class descriptions. And by accepting this, now that is got the values assigned so that when someone clicks on this, they'll actually go to that document.
Okay, and then we could preview what the actual page would look like?
Yeah, we select the preview here, and the preview now brings up my web browser, so I can see how my coding has been done, whether it looks good on the screen or not. It brings in the graphic, has a picture of Bob, and it's looking pretty good. And I can also click on this now and check and see, and certainly
really links to where you
there's
said
my
to go.
text.
Okay. How do I get the software? Where do I find this?
Well, the software is available. There's a free version available via FTP, and so there are several websites, including the NCSA site that has Hot Metal for free.
Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, that's our look at the Internet. In fact, just a little glance at the tip of the cyberspace iceberg. Thanks for joining us. I'm Stuart Chaffee. Hope to see you here again next time on the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by Hewlett-Packard, developing technology that lets you manage your PC from anywhere on the network, anywhere in the world. HP PCs, you're taking a close look at remote management.
Additional funding provided by Intel, makers of the Intel Pentium processor. And by Progress Software, client-server development tools for enterprise-class information systems.
Video cassette copies of this program are available. Computer Chronicles also publishes a companion newsletter containing details on products demonstrated and information on program topics. To order a video cassette or a newsletter, call 1-800-800-9520 or write Computer Chronicles. Please specify program subject for tapes. All orders include a free software program for auditing software use and information on the definitive guide to keeping your organization's software legal.